very happy to have you all here, and we have a super duper experienced speaker for today. And as always, I'm Desika Prabhakar, the founder and director of the Purpose Foundation, and our darling Lakshmi, our COO, is here. Okay, go ahead, Lakshmi.
Yeah. Good evening, guys. I hope all of you are excited for today's session. We are in here for a fascinating discussion that merges technology with healthcare, a field that's shaping the future of medicine. So here I am to introduce our distinguished speaker, Mr. Niranjan Subbarao. So he's the co-founder of Cyclops Medtech, a pioneering startup based in Bangalore. And Cyclops Medtech has been built an impressive portfolio of products which is related to the domain of Neuro Otology segment, focusing on helping clinicians diagnose, treat dizziness and balance disorders. With over 900 customers across 14 countries and more than 1.5 million patients has been diagnosed and treated by Cyclops Medtech, and which is very significant, creating significant impact on global healthcare. At Cyclops, Mr. Niranjan is at the helm of organizational growth, driving sales, marketing, and strategic partnerships. With over 2 decades of experience in healthcare, advertising, and medical content creation, he brings a wealth of knowledge to the medtech domain. So today, Sir will take us through the insights and innovations in the medtech that are transforming patients' healthcare. So let's dive into the session and explore how technology is revolutionizing the healthcare. So thank you.
Awesome, Lakshmi. Thank you so much. So guys, as I was telling you, we heard the lovely introduction, Mr. Niranjan sir, who has been like a pioneer in the medtech space with decades of experience, Emerge 50 winner for especially his commendable work in the eye care area, the products that they have done in eye care. They have gone to over upgrading 500 hospitals with eye tracking and AI. AI-powered neurodiagnostics is one of their, how do I put it, like the top product that they are providing and they're working on, and they've done immense work in this domain. So you have a lot to learn from Mr. Niranjan and his experience. So please put forth any question you have in general or about your idea as well. Make the best use of it, because he had a lot of experience in various products. He connected with various hospitals, doctors for testing out the product, pan India as well as even globally also. So it'll be a great, value addition for you guys to know more about his journey and anything that you would want to understand for your entrepreneurial journey as well in the future in mental space. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We are very happy to have you here. We just had an amazing introduction and waiting to hear all from you, so you can give a brief, say hi, get to know our students, and then we can go to the session. So basically, we have only our MedTech batch here out of the top 100 teams that are in the finals, and they are now getting the training to convert their ideas into a prototype stage. So they're all from Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 sort of cities. They've come up with their ideas and they've come up to the finale. They're all in an idea stage and all are students. So now, they're gearing to make an MVP and then take up their entrepreneurial journey. And it's, very, very valuable to have you here to share your journey, your insights, and give them inputs about their ideas. So after your session, like a brief, 15-minute general talk on the field, on the challenges. We hear each of their ideas. So they will present it to you, what they're working on, and we would love to hear your insights on the same. So this is what we have planned for today. The floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you, Desika. Thanks for having me around here today. It's certainly a huge pleasure to be amongst innovators trying to pitch in and help whatever little bit I can. And good evening, everyone. Hope you're all having a great time. So yeah, let's jump in to the session. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you a quick intro about myself and what we do here at Cyclops Medtech, and also a kind of a bird's eye view about how the Indian medtech health tech industry is shaping up and where all the opportunity lies. Of course, you'll find most of these online as well, but just to set the context. And then we can jump onto a discussion. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you might be having. So, yeah, talking about myself, I am a co-founder and currently take care of a whole bunch of things at Cyclops, including mopping and sweeping. And but otherwise, primarily, I'm responsible for the organizational growth, specifically driving sales and marketing, as well as strategy and partnerships. So, talking about Cyclops Medtech, we are, like the name suggests, a medtech startup, mainly building solutions, both diagnostic and rehabilitation solutions, in a very niche space called as Neuro Otology. Now, what is Neuro Otology? It is a space which borders neurology and otology. Otology is to do with the ear within ENT. So when we talk of ENT, right, the clinical term for ENT is otorhinolaryngology. So which means it deals with ear, nose, and throat, and specifically in that space, right, ear plays a very important role when it comes to balance. Okay, so that is the reason why this specific space is called as Neuro Otology, because it is a space which deals with inner ear issues and balance. Okay, and balance is essentially driven by both inner ear as well as brain. So this space is a very, very niche space, but the number of patients suffering from these disorders are very huge. Okay, so what is it that we build at Cyclops? We build diagnostic and rehabilitation products mainly to help clinicians find out what is causing dizziness and balance disorders in patients. Okay, now when we talk of dizziness and balance disorders, it's a huge global problem. Almost about 5% of the world population suffers from chronic imbalance and dizziness. So that's a whopping more than close to 1.2, 1.3 billion people worldwide. So there is no dearth of patients. Okay. However, diagnosing a dizzy patient is a very complex process, and the pathway is very, very, very nuanced, and it takes a lot of time for someone to arrive at the root cause. Okay. Now, why is it? It's primarily because, see, once you there are multiple reasons why someone feels dizzy, right? And dizziness in itself is not a disease. Okay. It is often a symptom for some other underlying condition that is lurking deep beneath. Now, that's the reason why it becomes very important for clinicians to find out what is it that is lurking deep beneath, okay, which is presenting symptoms as dizziness, okay, instead of just ignoring it. Because it helps them catch a lot of catastrophic events at a fairly early stage, okay. Now, this is where we come into picture. Now, the products that we have built on the diagnostic side helps clinicians do a differential diagnosis of a dizzy patient and find out whether the root cause is in the inner ear or whether the root cause is in the brain. Okay. Now, once you exclude the cardiovascular causes, right, which is relatively easy to diagnose, which is things like blood pressure variation and things like that, then the hypoglycemia also could be a cause. Then the rest of the causes originates either in the inner ear or in the brain. Okay. Now, our products helps clinicians like neurologists, ENT specialists, audiologists do a thorough differential diagnosis and find out if the problem is in the inner ear, which we call as peripheral dizziness, or if it's in the brain, which is central dizziness. Okay. So how do we do it? Primarily, there's a very close correlation between dizziness and the movement of the eyes. Okay. So when I say movement of the eyes, it is movement of the eyeball. Now, specifically, in a person with dizziness symptoms, right, the way the eyeballs or the pupil moves is very different from the way it moves in normal people like us, presuming that we are normal. So we have built a stack of technology which comprises of both hardware and software, which captures and analyzes these eye movements and presents various patterns or graphs, which look like typically like your ECG. And then we train clinicians on how to decipher these patterns and graphs and arrive at diagnostic conclusions. So what does the product comprise of? The hardware stack is basically a pair of eye tracking goggles. So these looks like your sci-fi scuba diving kind of goggles, where there are cameras which face the eyes. Patient puts on these goggles and then sits in front of a screen and follows certain calibrated patterns, and then the cameras will capture the eye movement and then sends it on to the computer, where we have the image processing layer, which extracts and analyzes these eye movements and plots it on a time series graph. And once it does that, different patterns emerge, and then we train clinicians on how to decipher these patterns. So that is one of the products that we have built on the diagnostic side, which is also our flagship product. And similarly, there are two more products on the diagnostic side, specifically to look at certain sub areas within the dizziness diagnostic spectrum. And then we have also built a suite of products on the rehabilitation side, mainly to rehabilitate patients suffering from dizziness and balance disorders. So that's what we do from a technology and clinical perspective. Talking about our business, right? So we are basically a team of about 30 people based out of Bangalore. And our team primarily comprises of both clinicians as well as engineering and sales team members. We have about 4 ENTs and audiologists in our core team, including one of the co-founders is also ENT specializing in Neuro Otology. And in terms of traction, we launched our first product way back in 2018. And currently we have about 900 plus clinical establishments in about 14 countries which are using our products. And almost about 2 million patients have either been diagnosed or rehabilitated using our products. And we have a very robust regulatory team because getting regulatory approvals is one of the very integral and most important parts when it comes to successfully commercializing a medtech or a health tech product. So we have an internal regulatory team, and all our products conform to regulatory standards. As an organization, we are ISO 13485 certified. And every single product of ours is either a class 2 medical device or a class 1 medical device. So yeah, that's to give you a quick context about us and what we do here at Cyclops. A quick sprinkle about the Indian medtech industry and where the opportunity lies today, right? So as most of you might be aware, right, the medtech industry in India is predominantly driven by imports, okay? There is a very small homegrown medtech industry, but then as of probably last year, almost about 75 to 78% of our consumption is driven through imports. Okay, whereas the size of the industry is quite large. It's almost about $18 billion as of 2 years back, but a big size industry which is predominantly driven by imports is not a great scenario, right? And the growth rate is also quite good. Okay, on an average, we are growing at about 17 to 18% CAGR year on year, which is one of the fastest growth rates in any of the emerging economies. So on one side, you have a huge market, you have a fast-growing market, but the sad thing is on the other side, it's entirely driven by imports, which is not a very great scenario. So this is where the opportunity lies, right? And this is where actually the government is also kind of pushing with a lot of Make in India initiatives, right? Where there are incentives, there are funding opportunities available, which encourages a lot of young companies and startups to innovate and build products in the medtech space. Now, when we started off in 2018, primarily we started by selling our products in India, but then now we are exporting to almost about 15 countries, right? So what does it take for a homegrown brand or homegrown product to successfully reach out and export and capture market share outside their countries? Now, typically, if you look at West, right, be it Europe or be it US or even Middle East, right, Indian products are often not their first choice. Okay, when it comes to medical devices, it's always European products or American products. Okay, now we need to break into this mindset, right? More than anything, it's all about changing the mindset of people out there. Okay, because end of the day, presuming that okay, our product is as good as anybody else's product, still we have a very very uphill task to convince customers. Okay, it's not just sufficient that our products are good, it is also very important that we get every other item ticked correctly. Okay, we need to adhere to the regulatory standards of respective countries. We need to have good number of publications. Now this is the most important thing when it comes to acceptability outside of India. Now in India, relatively it is still okay. We can sales could be driven through referrals, sales could be driven through ROI, and then sales could be driven through value proposition to both clinicians as well as patients. Okay, there's a lot of logic based argument that could come in play, but when we are looking at outside India, right, it is all about perception. Okay, presuming that the product is good. Okay, if the product is not good, obviously there's nothing else that matters. Okay, but presuming that the product is good, it's all about how we manage perceptions, right? And we need to constantly strive to tell the world that our product is as good or better than products from Europe or US. Now this is where scientific validity comes into play. We need to get involved in a lot of research studies and publish papers, and most importantly, associate with KOLs or key opinion leaders, because they play a very vital role in the success of products in the medtech industry. So with these, and also encourage a lot of trials in different markets, publish the results and so on. So, I mean, these are just a few of the measures that could help in scaling products globally that I could come up with. But then there are a whole bunch of other things as well. And then we can probably dedicate an entire session on how to successfully build and scale products outside India. But yeah, I think probably with this, maybe we can open up to questions and then, yeah, take it forward from here.
Sure. So thank you for giving us the more important things that we need to concentrate on when we are manufacturing from India and looking to serve other countries. So what are the important things? You have given us a lot of details. What is the one thing I like to start off with this, since they are students, just coming up with the concepts and prototypes now. So what are the steps that lie ahead, if you can put it as 1, 2, 3, like say, assuming they have the prototype now. So what would be the first 3 steps that they have to take next?
Yeah. See, textbooks say something else, okay? But probably what I would say today is a little different from what conventional medtech GTM or go-to-market roadmap tells, okay? What I would say is, if you have the very first step, okay, instead of doing a lot of trials and everything, if you believe that you have a product, okay, which works the way it should work, okay, go and deploy it in a customer location. Okay, don't wait for anything else, because the more you wait, the more time you lose. Okay, of course, I'm not saying that getting regulatory approvals, getting the clinical validations, and getting everything else is not important. It is really very, very important. Okay, but then more than anything, right, the earlier you put the product out in the market and let customers start using your product, the better are your chances of actually successfully commercializing the product. And also, I'll tell you the advantages. Okay, I mean, before getting into the advantages, right? When I say start deploying early, don't deploy it at any random location just because somebody is willing to pay. Okay, so deploy it in places, okay, where you have a certain level of comfort. Okay, where you have a certain understanding, where you can actually get feedback. Okay, now nothing like getting real time feedback from the field. Okay, everything else is theory, right? Now you might interview a whole bunch of doctors, you might interview a whole bunch of technicians, get their feedback. Now this is all theory. Okay, now till the product is actually deployed in a real life environment until people start using it for the reason why it needs to be used, you won't get quality feedback. So I would say very first step, okay, once you have a beta product, at least, I would not say deploy a proof of concept or deploy alpha prototype or anything. Once you have a beta prototype and once you are internally convinced that your product is working the way it has to work, first step, go and deploy. Okay, it's okay, it can be a paid deployment, it can be a free deployment, it doesn't matter, but deploy it in a place where they're going to seriously use the product and then give you feedback. That's the most important step. Now, other than that, I think parallelly, what you need to do is you need to keep refining the product. From a beta stage, you need to take it up to DFM or design for manufacturability, which there is a huge gap, right, between a prototype and an actual product that could be deployed in the field. This is where the real grunge work happens. Okay, now according to me, it might be relatively easy to get to a prototype stage because there, okay, the entire development is driven by passion. Okay, that way it makes it a lot more interesting and lot more exciting for you to build a product from zero to a functional prototype or a beta stage. Okay, because there's a lot of innovation going on there, and then everybody is really very kicked up, and there's a lot of passion out there. But then once you see that there's a prototype that is actually functioning, right, you get a feeling that, yeah, I think we have done, let's start deploying, there's nothing more to be done. Okay, but this is where the real work starts, and this is boring work. Okay, to actually get the product from a beta stage to a DFM or design for manufacturability stage, and then from there make the production batch and then start real deployment. Now this time is the most boring time, and it requires a lot of hard work. Okay, a lot of repetition, a lot of iterations. Okay, so do this. Okay, because this is what is defines how stable your product is going to be and how long lasting it's going to be and how well you can actually scale the product outside of India as well. And then parallelly, I think it's also important to start getting the start the process of getting the regulatory approvals. Now, don't go by what is required for India. Okay. Now, there are many products which might not. Of course, now I think in India also we have newer standards that have come through, and these are actually modeled on the lines of your global standards. Okay, but then I would say go out there and start preparing for getting a European CE or a US FDA right from the beginning. Okay, even though your market initially is only India, start preparing to get either European or American certifications, because that's going to help scale easily. And this process is a very long process. It's going to take you at least about 2 to 3 years to kind of get somewhere. Start that right from day one. Okay, and it's going to be pretty easy to align your documentation in line with global standards if you start pretty early on. If you start later and try to retrofit it, it's going to be a very difficult process.
Thank you so much. That was really very valuable, I think, to structure their journey ahead. So we'll go ahead to hear the ideas of the students and your opinion on them, or what kind of insight you would provide, what areas they should focus on, and what they should plan ahead. So that will be, very like structuring their path. So first, Gautam and Deepika, your team, can you go ahead? If you are
Yes,
there.
yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. Hello, sir. Myself, Gautam from Team Neurotronics. Our idea is our problem statement is we all know that India is the capital of diabetics. In diabetic neuropathy, nearly 1 lakh legs are amputated each year due to lack of early detection. There are devices to detect diabetic neuropathy, but they are so expensive. They require large space and require 2 people to handle. So we Team Neurotronics came up with a solution called Diatec D. It is a cost-effective screening tool for diabetic neuropathy, uh, advancing innovative design and engineering. And Diatec offers an user-friendly, portable, and efficient solution. Mm, our question is in what areas we should be careful and caution as we're doing project on medical, which are about all lives.
Yeah. Hi, Gautam, right? Yeah, thanks for sharing details about your product. Okay. So, see, if I sound a little discouraging when I'm expressing my opinion, don't bother about it. Look at it more as a constructive feedback, okay? And
Okay.
it's not to kind of downplay anything, okay? Now, the first good thing is you've got into a good space because diabetic neuropathy is a big problem, okay? And it results in, I mean, I know I can speak out of experience because my dad was suffering from diabetes, and then he had all kinds of problems in his foot as he grew old. And I think detecting diabetic neuropathy at a fairly early stage is a good problem to solve. Okay, and you don't have any dearth of number of patients. Okay, and you don't have any dearth on the number of touch points or clinics where you can deploy the product. But what I would like to express is that this is a space which is increasingly getting cluttered pretty fast. Okay, so how you differentiate yourself is what is going to make things go either north or south for you, right? See, when you started talking, you said like devices are expensive. Okay, so if you are basing your product journey purely on the assumption that there are a whole bunch of products there, they are very expensive, so let me build something which is similar but cheaper. Okay, now being only cheaper in the medtech space is not just sufficient. Okay, now how are you going to differentiate yourself is what is going to be important. Okay, are you using a different technology to detect the biomarkers? Okay, or are you using the same technology with an extremely increased level of accuracy which you can establish very clearly? Now these are the things you need to ponder upon, right? Because I don't know uh, what is it that you're doing. How are you detecting diabetic neuropathy? Okay, you spoke about being a portable device and all, which is perfectly good. Okay, but then beyond that, okay, so purely from a technology perspective, okay, what is it that you're doing? Okay, are you using imaging technology? Are you using is it non-invasive? Are you probably is it an invasive tool? Are you taking any tissue samples? So these are the things that I don't know at this point of time. But my suggestion is don't just base your differentiation on building a cheaper variant. Build a good variant, okay, which either offers increased accuracy or a more reliable technology to test to diagnose for the problem. But then, yeah, the good thing is you are in a good space. So I think, yeah, all the best to you.
Sir, we are actually working on it, sir. For adding extra features in our device, we are working with, we are collaborated with the engineering students, sir, in our college.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. Yeah.
We are working on it, sir. Thank you for your opinion, sir.
That's great. So we'll go to the next team. Dhanalakshmi, please go ahead.
So, hello, sir. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir. I'm God. Yeah. So, our product is period cramps reliever patches. So, we see that about 1.3 billion women menstruate every month all around the world. So, this period cramp patches provides relief by detecting the pain level through stimulated TENS, that is trans-emulated neuro simulation method. So here we have an incorporated AI chip which can actually detect the electrical pulses, that is impulses inside our muscles and the contractions, and it will provide targeted heat therapy for us, and it will give a comfortable experience for the user. And also we are incorporating an app for this so that we can connect with the customer so they know what it is and how the pain levels are. So they have a customizable therapy as well as a pill. That is, we don't have to use any drugs or pills for pains due to menstrual cycles. So this is our product, sir. So your
Yeah.
views over this product and what can I actually improve? We are right now in the conceptual stage.
Yeah. Again, like Gautam, I think you have also picked up a big area, right? Where there is no dearth of prospective users of the product. It's a huge space. It's a big problem. And you have rightly got into the space. Now, TENS is a extremely growing and popular technology. And you're actually specializing in a good space, okay? And the good thing is once you crack this space, right, electrical stimulation essentially, it has applications in multiple domains across the human body, and there are a whole bunch of products which are coming out which basically cater to different areas of the body and essentially focuses on pain relieving. Now, my suggestion is you've actually thought through it pretty well. Okay. Projecting this as an alternative to medication is a great positioning way. You can actually study, okay, see in the migraine space, right, there's a whole bunch of products which are coming out using electrical stimulation, okay. And then, in fact, we are also building a product in that space. Based on, but primarily focusing on vestibular migraine. So, and there are a whole lot of success stories there, right? So, try to study how products have scaled up in the migraine space, okay, and how they have positioned the product, and build it around it, okay. So, for example, one of the recent examples I could give is. I think Dr. Reddy's has come up with a migraine patch, which essentially revolves around electrical stimulation. They don't have heat, okay? But then they have built an entire ecosystem around it, okay? It's not just about, So what they've also built is they have built an ecosystem around it, okay? So, of course, there is also a mobile app and all that, but then they have also built a network of neurologists, okay? So, essentially, if a patient approaches them with migraine, wanting to buy the device, they will not straight away sell the device. They will first connect you to a neurologist, let the neurologist do a basic analysis, and then deliver the device. Okay, so this, from a business perspective, is an interesting move. So maybe you might want to kind of consider roping in clinicians. Okay, don't make it an entirely consumer centric product. Okay, make it a B2B2C product. Okay, let it not be a OTC. I mean, eventually the distribution can be OTC driven, but ensure that clinicians are involved in the loop. Okay, let them prescribe this, and then let the device be bought over the counter, and rest of it is fine. I think using electrical stimulation and heat to alleviate pain works. There is a lot of evidence in this space. So I think my only suggestion at this point of time is loop in clinicians into the system.
Okay, sir. That's very great. Thank you, sir.
Yes, we'll go to the next team, Sahana and Madhumita's team. You can go now.
Hello, sir. I'm Madhumita from Team Ideal Freaks. So, our idea is to design a wearable sensor embedded gloves for stroke prediction, and we'll be feeding this hardware data into a deep learning model for predicting it. And so, basically, my question is what are the main barriers to implement this in a routine clinical practice?
Okay, so you're talking of prediction, right? Prediction of stroke. Okay, you're not talking of, this is not a therapeutic product for rehabilitation, or nor is this a diagnostic device. It is more of a predictive device. Okay, which means it needs to be constantly used. Okay, to for it to be able to predict. Okay, now a few questions here. Okay, now what kind of because stroke is problem. Okay, though increasingly common amongst seniors and aging population, but then it's also very common amongst youngsters now because of lifestyle-oriented disease. Okay, now more than technology, right? Here, my comments are purely based on the actual process of using the product, right? Because for it to be predictive, for it to be, this is similar to a Holter monitor, right? Which a patient suffering from arrhythmia wears. Okay, now the Holter monitor sits somewhere. It's a patch. It sits somewhere here, and then it gets hooked on to the phone, or it through the phone it gets hooked on to the cardiologist, and then it constantly keeps monitoring the heartbeat to catch that one missing beat. So that is arrhythmia. But it's constant usage. Okay, now there, though it is constant usage, right? It is actually defined for a particular patient. Okay, there are some preconditions. Okay, if the cardiologist suspects that this patient might have arrhythmia, then they might actually put the patient on a Holter. Okay, and then continuous monitoring takes place. Now, in your case, right, until and unless you define who are the patients who qualify for this, okay, it is going to be very difficult. It can't be universal. It can't be used by everyone, right? Because, I mean, why would I want to wear a pair of gloves and walk around every day just to ensure that if I suffer from a stroke at some point of time, it's going to catch, right? I mean, it's important. Catching stroke at a fairly early stage is very important, because in case of stroke, golden hour is the most important aspect. So they have neurologists specializing in stroke have this concept of FAST, right? They call it as a FAST. So golden hour is very important. But then till you define a particular phase or a particular event, post which continuous monitoring through these gloves becomes important. Okay, till you define that phase, right, it's going to be a bit of a hard sell, in my opinion, because not everyone would want to wear gloves at all points of time. So I think you need to maybe work through a little on the product versus patient journey and see at what point to introduce the product.
So actually, our primary customers are actually hospitals, sir. So actually, the patients who are having stroke risk will use these gloves to predict it, sir.
Yeah. So that's perfect. Okay. So, but then what is the criteria? Okay. So are you leaving it to the neurologist who's treating the patient to figure out who's at stroke risk? Okay. And then prescribe this product to be used as a Holter, or is there some criteria that you guys have set saying that if there is a patient who is having this kind of symptoms, then this product is going to be useful for them?
Actually, we are leaving it to the neurologists, sir.
Okay. I think maybe do a limited pilot study and try to get some data on who were the initial set of users where where this was able to predict, and where the trial was successful. And based on that, maybe you might have to slightly modify your criteria.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
We have Shreya next.
Good evening, sir. This is Shreya from Team Innovators. Our product is centralized healthcare data system. So this is a problem statement. Due to the use of the traditional way of storing patients' data as files and papers, there are many cases of patients losing their medical data due to natural disasters and many other causes. When this occurs, the medical data of the patient is lost, and the patient plans to move to another hospital for the treatment. This will cause many issues and even pose a huge risk to the patient's treatment and health. So, our product is mainly based upon developing a website where we can store the health records of the patient instead of storing it in medical files. The platform can be used by patients, doctors, and can be used in pharmacies to purchase the medicines. We are also planning on storing the medical data in an NFC cards, which helps in easy accessibility of the data. So our product mainly focuses on eliminating the use of traditional way of storing medical files using papers, and it aims in easy understanding of the medical records of a patient if the patient plans on moving from one hospital to another hospital for their treatment. So what are your views on our products? This is our product.
See, digitizing health records and giving the patient control to manage their health records is actually a national problem, and then it's also defined by the national health policy as well. And in fact, if you see, as part of Ayushman Bharat and then the Digi Health Stack and all, government is also taking a whole lot of measures, okay, including creating a DigiLocker kind of a concept to store health records. And then if you look at the health stack, right, national health stack, you have every single tool that is available to for hospitals to digitize their health records and give control of health records to the patient. Okay, now the solution already exists at a governmental level, at a scalable level. Now, how you tap into this is something that you need to figure out instead of building everything from scratch, because all the building blocks are already available on the national health stack. So you have a OTP engine, you have the DigiLocker, and then you have the basically a mechanism through which patients can permit doctors to access their health records across different hospitals. So all that is already there. So you need to tap into it and figure out what already exists and how you can utilize these and build a solution that is a little different. Now, that's a good thing. But coming back to the pain points, right? See, for decades, multiple companies, I would say dozens and dozens of companies have attempted to get into the digitizing space, okay, when it comes to electronic health records or EHR. Now, some of them have been successful in a limited scale, but nobody has been successful in a scalable manner. Now, the reason is it has a lot of it has a lot to do with our behavior, right? Especially in a country like India, right? We don't have the discipline to kind of digitize every single record, store it properly, access it when it is required. And then the process of digitizing is also a little cumbersome in the current manner, okay? Because it can't be completely driven through digital. Pen and paper still plays a very important role. Now, a prescription, see, one might assume that right from the stage of keying in the prescription, why write it on a paper, or why scribble it on a digital writing pad? Can't we just input the prescription into the system digitally? It doesn't work because clinicians don't have that kind of time. They are happy to just scribble the prescription on a pen and paper. Now, from there, are you making things a lot easier for the support staff to put this prescription, convert this prescription into a digital format? How easy is it? Okay, now you might say the simplest thing is let's scan it and put it. Okay, but then that consumes a lot of time and space. So this is where innovation comes in, and there are a whole lot of people who are innovating in this space. And secondly, you said you will give NFC based cards to patients. Okay, and we all know how bad we are in terms of keeping plastic cards, right? And see, if it's like our credit card, okay, that's something that we use every day, and we keep it safe. Okay, when it comes to a health card, right, it's not something that we use every day. Okay, we'll remember it when we have to go to the hospital or when we have to go to a doctor, which thankfully doesn't happen very often. So chances of people losing these cards are extremely high. Okay, I think my suggestion is don't involve any physical component in the patient journey, because chances of them losing it is very important, and then getting it back is going to be a humongous process, and then they will just give up. Okay, just make link it to the patient's phone number, and then ensure that retrieval always happens through OTPs. You already have the OTP stack on the National Health Stack. It's very easy to kind of tap into that, generate OTPs through which patients could just retrieve their health information.
Thank you for your input, sir. We'll work on it.
So this next question is from Deepak, and they are building a platform where they want to target nutrition, especially for children, right? So they want to make specific snacks for each type of nutrition deficiency that is occurring, especially. So they're from Uttarakhand basically, and they have seen a lot of villages where children have not got appropriate amount of nutrition or nutrition rich food, and there are some heritage foods that are usually in all the villages, and they want to make this accessible for everybody, especially in one of the villages, Amarnath. It's very good for anemia, the foods that are available there. So how do we validate this before actually we start manufacturing or making these kind of nutritious foods? How do we validate this is what they're asking.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good and noble thought, but see, when we look at your target audience, right, they're children, okay, and children are not payers, okay, so children don't have money, okay, so who decides for them? So you need to kind of position it towards them, okay, so eventually, I mean, ultimately it's the parents who actually pay for this, right? And then when we talk of malnutrition, right, it's more of a semi-urban and rural problem than urban problem. Okay, in urban you have a different kind of malnutrition. I would say it is MALL, not MA. So it's more of eating mall food and losing nutrition. So that's a different kind of problem. But I think in the rural area you actually have deficiencies, right? So, but these heritage foods, according to me, are not necessarily cheap. Okay, I mean it is cheap at its source. Okay, so if you go to a specific village and then consume something, it can be pretty cheap and it can be sometimes free as well. But then from there, how do you actually commercialize it, make it into a product, and put it on the shelves of supermarkets from where people can buy it? There's a long journey, and it's going to make the whole thing expensive. Now, whether people who actually need it will be able to afford it at that point of time is something that you need to test. So I don't know who are specifically your target audience. Okay, children who are lacking nutrition is your target audience. You've mentioned, okay, but specifically, where do they come from? What is their paying capacity? And then what are the distribution channels available in these specific segments? See, this is more of look at it more like an FMCG product, right? If HLL would launch a new snack brand or Britannia would launch a new cookie, what is going to be the journey? So that is how you need to base this on, okay? This is not a technology problem. It is more of a distribution and marketing problem, I would say. So study a lot of case studies where people have successfully commercialized heritage foods. Look at the journey of, say, Yoga Bar, right? They have managed to successfully take a lot of traditional recipes and put it on the shelves. And then look at the journey of someone like Adukale. I mean, Adukale specifically doesn't focus on nutrition, but then they are essentially taking traditional recipes and then putting it on the shelf. So look, study these journeys, and then you can base your entire positioning and pricing strategy based on these.
Yes. So the next is from Mahati. So this team, they're working on smart gloves for autism spectrum disorder, basically using embedded systems. Their question is, will the level 3 people facing autism, like level 3 sort of spectrum disorder, can they sort of accommodate this technology? What are your views on that?
So what does the gloves do? What do the gloves do specifically?
I think it helps, manage the movements basically for controlling, their making it easy for them every day. They are basically smart gloves to control, give them some level of control.
Yeah. So, see, one of the things, again, slightly limited knowledge in this space as far as I'm concerned. But then I think when you look at autism, right, what the gloves does is provide deep pressure stimulation to stabilize certain movements, okay, and calm the patient, okay. Now, is the gloves doing the same thing, or is it something else? Is
To help
what I
them
would
do
like.
daily chores, like just get them through activities that they can do by themselves, like try to get them into practice of doing basic daily activities. Gives
Yeah,
them.
I know. But then are they managing to do that is something that I would like to know. Okay, see, because typically when you look at gloves, right, for autism kids, there are two things. Okay, one is there is deep pressure stimulation, and then there is some amount of weight that gets added into these gloves, which makes the whole process of movement
Difficult
very
to move.
yeah. uh, and especially when we talk of fine motor skills, right, like writing and things like that, this is going to be useful. Okay, so are we looking at similar things? Is something that I would like to know. Maybe I think if a little more details could be shared in terms of the actual technology that is being used, and then uh, a little more details on the specific target audience within the autism spectrum, it'll be a little helpful, and maybe I can kind of get back on this.
Yeah, so what they're trying to do is like there are different gestures, right? There's more of
Mm,
movement that, as you
mm,
mentioned, either by weight, they control all of that. So they're trying to probably embed a small motor which can, sort of restrict that
mm,
just based on the gesture, the like the level of gesture, how much
mm.
heavy it is, trying to restrict that with in building some motors and that kind of thing. They're trying to do it basically with gesture control to detect the
Oh,
gestures and stop it.
okay. And is this going to be like a training tool, or is it something that is worn every day and help
Till they
them
get practice, probably till they get a sort of a practice, because the higher the level you have, more there's a lot of activity which you are not able to control, and the parents are
Mm.
kind of struggling with that. So that's where they just want this to be a training and a helpful tool for them to take care of their basic activities.
Yeah. See, I think at the outset it looks quite because I mean there are a few of these products that I've seen and they are very helpful. But I think my specifically my experience or my exposure to this domain is a little limited, so I can't really comment on whether this specifically works for type 3 or whatever category of autism patients. But what I've seen and heard is that purely from a technology perspective, this deep pressure stimulation works in autism patients.
Yes. So we have Pragdish. Your question, Pragdish? Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Uh, Sir, my name is Faiz, sir. I am from Manara Institute of Technology. My team name is Eco Explorer, sir. Sir, I am working on the project to build a personalized neurodynamic profile for global health, sir. And also, my problem statement is health data information and management system mobile application, sir. And also, I'm creating a nutrition profile for the whole world, sir. So we are focusing on the HTML framework, sir. We are focusing on genetic, microbiome, and biochemical data, and then we give a nutritional diet, and also with the possible lifestyle, sir. Also, we are focusing on the geography for the food, sir. I want to ask you what means I'm going to work on this, sir. It is scalable and it is possible to make it as a viable product, sir. And then we are also focusing on the target customers are healthcare facilities and also hospitals and nutritionists like the professionals, sir.
Yeah. So my question is, why do you want to kind of link it only to hospitals, right? Because nutrition is a problem universally, and I think this is something that is required by everyone, not specifically patients, right? So it might be a good idea to broad base this, okay? But then the additional problem is when you broad base this, how easy are you going to make it for everyone to use this, right? Now today, if you look at say someone like Healthify Me, okay? So Healthify Me is a platform which with deep funding, and then they are actually trying to see if they can make people eat healthy and better food. Now the problem here is stickiness. Okay, now initially people might get a little excited, and then they would start wondering, "Oh, yeah, this is a great tool. I can it measures what I eat, it counts my calories, and then." Say, for example, in Healthify, I don't know if it's in Healthify Me or some other app. You can take a picture of your plate, and then it analyzes and tells you, breaks up your intake and tells you how much carbs is there, how much protein is there, and then is it sufficient, and things like that. Okay, and then there is a whole lot of data and analytics that could be presented around it, right? But how long can people actually base their consumption based on data? Okay, people are going to go mad at some point of time. They will start counting calories day in and day out, and then at some point of time lose steam and then figure out, okay, chuck this. It's not working for me. So how are we going to break into this mindset and then ensure that they continue to use it regularly is a thing that needs to be thought through. On the contrary, if you are specifically focusing on hospitals, uh, it might be easier to scale. Okay, but the problem there is a limited audience, right? So if a hospital is prescribing a specific way of consuming to patients, then once the patient is destroyed, or once the patient is discharged, and once the patient is cured of the problem, then they might stop basing their consumption on the prescribed in the prescribed manner. So then you're just going to lose that patient. So these are some of the real life problems that you need to think on, and base your overall positioning strategy on keeping a balance between how fast you can scale, how to ensure that stickiness is there through and through. People are going to use it. This is probably what you need to look at.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we have the last question from Katija. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hi.
So, our team is called NutriMasters. We have a proposed company called Eat with Ease. So, our plan is healthy snack alternatives for diseased people. So, disease means dis-ease. You're not at ease. So, the company means you should eat with ease. So, as we all know, we are Indians love snacking, and no matter if you are having a health condition, a clinical condition, nobody can just take out the example of our parents. If you tell them not to eat, they'll definitely go and eat. They'll hide. So anyway, snacking is inevitable. So what we want to do is make healthy snack alternatives for specific health conditions, which will also benefit them and their condition. So for example, our first prototype was a snack crackers for diabetes, because diabetes patients have the highest chances for having cravings, and then if they have anything, then their blood sugars rise. So we made one prototype, we packaged it according to the FSSAI, everything was good. And in the long run, we have more products for anemia, for hypertension, for bloating, IBS, that sort of things. But the problem is, like you said, you should, no matter what idea you have to take it out in the community, the people who will be using it, to see how it's going to work. And what everyone answers back is it does have a negative connotation to it, in the sense like we're saying it's only for the deceased, even though they are good enough to have by the normal people as well. So we want to say it's going to be for the disease people without having the negative aspect to it. Like we don't want to remind them of the fact that they are diseased. So we are still figuring out how to do about that. So if you could just give.
Yeah. See, I don't agree with the negative connotation, right? See, you need to be careful not to position it as a medicine. Okay, it's a food. Okay. Now today, if you see, right, there's Horlicks diabetes, and then there is Complain that, and then there is NutriPod this. I mean, every single health drink is trying to position themselves as a drink which matters to a specific segment of people. Okay, so there are drinks which, I mean, all these drinks are essentially extremely bad. They are very high on sugar, and then they don't really serve any purpose, but then they have to sell, right? And then they are all kind of, how are they differentiating themselves? One says that my drink is good for diabetes patients. The other says that my drink is rich in protein. So if you're going to the gym, this is the drink that you need to use, and things like that. So purely from a positioning perspective, I don't see any negative connotation there at all. Okay. So don't be careful not to say that this is only for diabetes patients. Okay. That is very important. Position it like it's a universal product. Okay. But it has benefits for patients with diabetes because you are taking care to use the right kind of sugars, and then don't say it is like 100% sugar free, because then it becomes like extremely people will think that it's tasteless, and then you're going to drive away people, right? So how you are going to kind of, I mean, what is it that goes on the label, okay, is very important. Okay, not on the back of the label but in the front of the label. Okay, this is what defines whether people are going to pick this product from the shelf. Okay, don't make it scary, don't make it niche and say that this is only for diabetes. Okay, ensure that it at the outright it should look like it is something, it's a snack. Okay, it's a snack, but it should, so make it look like a snack. Okay, but give a message that this is something that is healthy for anyone to pick and eat. Okay, and once they turn the back of the product, that is where you share more details.
Okay, so fun and approachable and informational fun and approachable on the front, and backside we can do little educational and information.
Correct. Okay. So don't make it. See, all I say is don't make it scary. Okay. I mean, don't make it, and don't give a feeling that this is something that is very tasteless, and this is specifically only for diabetes patients and things like that. Just ensure that make it look very interesting, so that say anybody who wants to snack should be able to pick it.
Okay. That was a really good insight, sir. Thank you.
So with that, I think we are coming to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Mr. Niranjan, for your super valuable time and the patience to listen to all the ideas and all the innovation that our students are looking forward to building. And it's been a very realistic roadmap that you have tried to give them, to put into consideration all the things that you have experienced and to share all of that. It's been really, really great. So thank you for also sharing your journey. It's been wonderful to listen to the growth and contribution you have done to the field as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we just hope we can stay connected and put forth ideas in the future. And maybe a few of our students can also collaborate or learn from you as well in the future. So thank you so much and have a good night.
Certainly. Thank you so much for having me around here today. It was very great interacting with innovators. It's always very refreshing as well. And all the best for everyone who are building products. You've embarked on a very great journey. My only suggestion is don't give up. Okay. Yes. Every one of these products are something that is viable. It can be commercialized. So don't give up. Stay put. Okay.
Thank you so much. So give it up, guys, for our dear Mr. Niranjan for being an awesome guest speaker and listening to us patiently today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care. Yeah.